Splatoon launched this weekend after much hype and plenty of anticipation. Nintendo's most exciting new IP in a long while is finally in the hands of consumers, but many are saying their hands feel a little empty. With only one multiplayer mode and 5 maps ready to go at launch, if Splatoon only feels partially complete at this point, that's because, well, it is. Nintendo has promised more free content coming up in the following weeks and months, including ranked matches, additional stages, new weapons, and new game modes. Still, the time to build up momentum for a new game that requires a strong online community is at launch, so will Splatoon survive the summer? Titanfall, the first-person shooter on Xbox One, 360, and PC, launched with its cupboard similarly bare in the March of 2014. Unfortunately, a lack of content from the get-go significantly hamstrung how much momentum Titanfall could build, and as a result, despite critical acclaim, many believe the shooter never achieved the success it deserved. So is Splatoon destined to a similar fate? Or will the energy, marketing power, and sheer lust for a brand new IP on the Wii U keep the community active and engaged while the rest of Splatoon's content rolls out? Roll up your sleeves and throw on your coveralls. We're about to determine whether Splatoon's first few months will be as messy as its gameplay. At launch, Splatoon has 5 multiplayer maps, a 6-hour single-player campaign, a 1v1 mode, and lots of gear and weapons to choose from. For a $50 game, that's a good deal, but Splatoon is full price, which means fans are expecting more, and rightfully so. Nintendo has recognized that the game's initial offering may seem paltry, which is why they've committed to releasing free content, including maps and weapons, every few weeks post-launch. Nintendo's realized that the key to maintaining a strong community is strong multiplayer that doesn't begin to feel stale, and are taking measures to do so considering the game wasn't complete by launch. While limiting the number of maps available at any one point to only 2 could frustrate some players, it will reinvigorate the online community whenever new maps are launched in the same way that people went running back to Mario Kart after its DLC was released. By contrast, Titanfall launched with a full 15 maps and 5 game modes back in March of 2014, but many complained off the get-go that they felt the content was lacking. Shortly after, the community began to wane as gameplay had become stale or repetitive to many. By the time Titanfall's first paid DLC launched, 2 months after the game was released, numbers were dwindling, especially in the PC community. 3 months after, recognizing the issue, Titanfall's developers Respawn Entertainment began to add new game modes every week for free in an effort to revitalize the community. While it helped, it seemed like it was too little, too late. The lesson is that bare-bones content in such a heavily multiplayer game can be a death sentence, but it doesn't have to be. All signs point to Nintendo being able to buck the trend by pumping life into Splatoon after launch, but truly only time will tell. Certainly one of the arguments for Nintendo keeping Splatoon alive much longer than Titanfall was the fact that, well, there's just more to do. Titanfall was built around its multiplayer modes, so much so that there actually wasn't a single-player mode at all. Even the campaign was just a multiplayer arena, except with a paragraph of context added while the game was loading. In comparison, there is a lot more to do in Splatoon. Not a ton, mind you, but enough to keep you entertained with the title while you're waiting for new maps to pop up. Packaged with a 6-hour single-player campaign, Splatoon is able to keep you entertained while you need a break from the high-stakes turf war. Shades of Sunset Overdrive mixed with Super Mario Galaxy make the campaign enjoyable and, most importantly, fresh. Enemies and worlds you would never see online emerge in this solo mode that begins to feel a lot more like a platformer shooter as opposed to an arena shooter. Additionally, there's tons of customizable options for weapons and clothes, as well as a 1v1 local face-off mode to change the pace. Variety is key in keeping a game from becoming stale, and though Splatoon currently lacks variety in maps and multiplayer, it compensates in well-thought-out single-player and local gameplay, which can sometimes go a long way in extending a game's shelf life. Though Titanfall's reception was underwhelming on the PC, it was largely regarded as one of the best shooters on the Xbox One for a while. Why? Well, because its competition was Battlefield 4 and, well, just Battlefield 4 pretty much, which wasn't very good. For that reason, Titanfall's community lasted much longer on the Xbox One than it did on the PC, as fans of the genre were forced to deal with its flaws if they wanted a solid first-person shooter to play. Obviously, if you know anything about the Wii U, you'll be aware that a similar lack of competition exists on Nintendo's home console. This would be enough to give Splatoon an advantage, even if it was a normal first-person shooter, but it's clearly not. Frankly, Splatoon is such a unique experience that it's hard to imagine titles like this getting boring anytime soon. This isn't the same gritty first-person shooter we've been playing for years with a few minor changes. This is Nintendo's new, hilarious spin on an established concept, and the sheer novelty of it should keep people interested in the short term while we wait for new content. Waiting for all of Splatoon's content to be rolled out isn't ideal, and it's unlike Nintendo to not simply delay its release until it can release the package as a whole. That said, it's unlikely that people will grow weary of Splatoon's limited options while Nintendo prepares its free DLC thanks to its multiple game modes, consistent injections of content, and genius new take on third-person shooters. How do you find Splatoon? Are you happy with waiting while Nintendo rolls out DLC over the next few months, or are you already wishing for more variety? Let us know in the comments below, or drop us a line on Twitter. As always, head on over to pixelattack.net for more articles and videos on Nintendo and Splatoon, as well as the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC gaming. It doesn't matter whether you're a kid or a squid now, we'll see you out there.